Hello, Namaskar viewers. I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's edition of the Tax Talk with Ajay right here on ITV Gold. This weekly show brings you all that you need to know when it comes to taxes, personal taxes or corporate taxes, because we are exactly in the middle of the tax season. And obviously, many of you have not filed a tax return yet because you're waiting for it. Or you maybe are thinking, if I'm going to get a refund or not, why should I file early? Can I wait a little bit? Don't do that. Just put all the paperwork together and contact SAI CPA services and have your taxes done right, because that's what SAI CPA services believes in it, having your taxes done right. You can contact them at 908-380-6876 or visit their website, which is saicpaservices.com. Their on-hand experienced CPAs will help you and guide you in the right direction when it comes to your personal or corporate taxes. With that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ajay Kumar of SAI CPA Services to the show. Sir, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sanjeevji. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Sure. How's it going?
It's going very well.
Busy season.
The busy season is here.
Busy season.
The long hours, but it's good.
I know AJ works 25 hours in a day. So that's how he keeps himself very, very busy. Anyway, busy is good. And of course, company owners, business owners, they like to be busy because they're entrepreneurs and they want to expand the business. So today's topic is going to be setting up a company in the USA. If you are in India or outside USA, anywhere else, how can you set up a company in the USA, your own company? And what are the things that you must follow, and what are the pros and the cons? So when I say cons, meaning I'm not saying in the negative manner, but what you should be careful when you are setting up a company in the USA from abroad. So that's what we're going to find out from Mr. Ajay Kumar. As you know, in the USA, there is a S corporation, there's a C corporation, there's a LLC, and then there is a partnership and whatnot, right?
Absolutely, Sanjeevji. So we have a lot of our viewers who are from India, in that neighboring countries. Either they or a lot of their family members want to start the business in the US. Many of them don't even have a social security number. Many of them have not been here in this country. And there is a lot of confusion about it. Can they open the company? How should they go about? What's the process? How long does it take? What forms they need to file? How much tax they have to pay? What can they do? What they cannot do? What are they allowed? What are they not allowed? So in this episode, we'll try to cover, as a foreigner, as somebody from India, Pakistan, somebody from outside this country, what are your rights, what are your filing obligations, and how you can start a business in this country.
All right. So my first question to you is that there are 5 kinds of businesses that you can set up, the companies that you can set up. Somebody who wants to start a business in the USA, can they follow any 5 of them, or there is only 1 or 2 that they can follow because they are not US citizen or not living USA?
Absolutely. Great question. So as you rightly said, the country allows 5 types of structure: proprietorship, partnership, LLC, S Corp, and C Corp. 3 structure, proprietorship, partnership, and S Corp, do not have the foreign ownership. So when it comes to the foreign ownership, we have 2 types of structure that the government allows. You can choose to be either forming an LLC or incorporating a C corporation. So there are 2 types of structure that we allow in this country for foreign ownership.
Okay. So LLC or the C corporation?
LLC and the C corporation.
So LLC, limited liability corporation, right? And requires members.
Right.
So can they have a single member entity and that member is outside USA, or can they have multiple members and one outside USA but the other members in USA?
Great question. So the question essentially is, when I form the LLC, do I have to have a local US partner or not?
Yes.
So not necessarily. So to answer your question, if you are trying to open an LLC as a single member, single owner who is a foreigner, you are still allowed. If you want to have a local partner, you are still allowed.
Okay.
It's not mandatory for you to have a local US partner. It's your option. If you want, Go ahead. If you don't want, the government allows you to form a single member LLC even when the single owner is a foreigner, and it doesn't have to be an individual.
Okay.
The single owner can be your Indian company. Consider a situation. You already have an existing structure in India. Now you want to expand that business in this country, and it could be any business. IT consulting, search engine optimization, selling products, selling services, anything that you are doing already. You create a company, and this US company is owned by your Indian company 100%. So Indian company is a foreign entity,
Okay.
and you don't need a local partner.
All right. So when they set up LLC or C corporation based upon their choice, and let's say they are doing well and everything else, and they prefer to continue that way, that they are abroad and their business in the USA is running well. When it really comes, when good days really come, and they want to, start an IPO and they want to get on the, stock exchange board, is it possible for them to do so?
Absolutely, absolutely. The caveat that I would like to add, if that's the plan, if your company is large enough, and please remember, going to publicly traded company has some expenses. So you have to have certain volume, certain revenue, certain profit before you can be listed on Security Exchange Commission, on SEC, on publicly traded company. So your company has to be large enough, but it does not limit you. Just because you are a foreign owner does not limit your company to be publicly listed. You don't want to have the LLC, and we'll discuss why. If that's the plan, you probably want to go with C corporation.
C corporation would be better, obviously. All right. So having having ironed out that much of a detail, let's go step by step. How much does it cost for that person to set up a company?
It's not too bad. If you have a local US partner, the process is much cheaper, much simpler, only because there is not a lot of scrutiny around it. Meaning, if you have a local partner with a US social security number, then the company can be formed in 3 to 5 business days, and cost will be almost half of the cost you have to pay if there is no local US partner. Meaning, if we don't know who is the ultimate beneficially owner for the company is, there is a lot of scrutiny. The process is different. It's a paper processing. So company formation will take 3 to 5 weeks as opposed to 3 to 5 days if there is no local US partner.
Okay, interesting. And what are the documents, the most important documents needed to do that?
Absolutely. We have to verify the identity for the beneficial ownership information. So if you have a local US partner, we can look at their driver's license. We'll need their social security number. If you are a foreigner and you don't have a US driver's license, US social security number, you can provide 2 picture IDs, a copy of your local Indian driver's license and a copy of your passport. If the local company is owned by the Indian company, if you are trying to form a subsidiary in the US, for your Indian company, whoever the owners are, will need their information.
Okay, talk about India. Besides driver license, there is another ID card called Aadhaar card.
Absolutely.
You would need to have that too also, right?
Any 2 picture ID will do.
Any 2 picture IDs. Okay, all right. So now, those documents provided, and now the setting up company is in the process. Do that owner living outside USA, do they have to offer certain number of shares as a capital when they start a company?
No, there is no such requirement as how much capital investment you have to have in this country. It's a very common question where people will ask, do they have to invest certain amount of money? Do they have to invest $100, $1,000, $10,000? There is no such investment. Your company, you decide how much working capital you need for your company to succeed, and that's the amount of money you need. There is no minimum capital investment required to start the business in US.
All right. So then, no minimum requirement. USA address is not needed. A person can be in India or anywhere in a neighboring country and can open a business and everything.
I'll correct one thing. That address is needed.
Achha.
A local address will be needed.
US local address?
And you can buy such addresses. There are a lot of websites.
How can you buy that? Who's that?
There's a virtual addresses, post office addresses. You can go to USPS.com. They are selling the addresses, and at a very, very reasonable rate, like $10 a month to, depending on what services you are expecting from them. There are a lot of companies. Regus will sell the virtual addresses. There are a lot of companies, all states. They will have a local US address that they are willing to sell, and their obligations are only if they get the mail, they will scan the mail and they will email it to you. And they will charge you upfront for a year, which can vary from $100 to $1,000.
Okay, so they will open the mail and then scan it to the person.
Scan it and just email it to you.
Okay,
if
so
you
it will
want
be-
them to be depositing the checks as well or taking certain actions, depending on what services you are expecting,
Sure.
your monthly fees may be higher.
Oh, so you could have a la carte service also
Absolutely.
from them.
A lot of options available in the market.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, so that's good. But it will not be a street address. It will not be a street address. It will
in
be
lot
PO
of
box or
cases-
unit number, something like that.
Not necessary. In a lot of cases, there are street addresses. Let's say, for example, a lot of companies like Regas, right, where they have the office space, they assigned one unit as a street address for this purpose only.
That's
The problem is a lot of states, say for example Delaware, they wouldn't open the company
unless there is a
unless
US address.
there is a physical address.
Yes.
So they don't open the company with a virtual address. In that case, what you do? A lot of accountants, a lot of attorneys are willing to use their own address as long as you are using their services.
Okay.
If you are using an attorney or an accountant, you can use their service. We do it all the time. At our address, we probably have over 1,000 companies registered at our address. All the foreign companies, we act as their agent. We act
Sure.
as their physical address, local address, but we are allowed to do so in New Jersey only.
But that means SAI CPA service can be a registered agent?
Absolutely, absolutely. But again, we are allowed to do so in New Jersey only
Acha.
because
You're not licensed for all 50
we
states?
are licensed in all 50 states, but we don't have a physical location
Office
in all
outside
the
New
50
Jersey,
states.
yes.
So our physical location is in New Jersey, so we're allowed to be agent everywhere. But just because we don't have the physical location, we wouldn't be able to give you our own address as a physical address.
Okay. Now, last question before we go on a break. We have 1 minute. How do they know what state they want to go into to get the address?
That's the most asked question when it comes to the foreign ownership for these businesses. If you look at the one question that's asked by everybody, which state should I be opening the company? Well, there are 50 states. All these states run their business, run their affairs based on the money they collect from small businesses like yours and mine. So a lot of states play gimmicks. Florida, no personal income tax. Delaware, no personal income tax.
Yes.
A lot of states will say, no corporate income tax, tax us, no personal income tax. Well, how do they collect the money then? Each of these states have a roundabout way to go about. Let's say Delaware. Delaware has a franchise tax that probably 5 states in this country, 45 states in this country do not have what Delaware has is called franchise tax. The franchise tax can be anywhere from $300 to $200,000 depending on how much assets you have, how many stocks you have, and how much revenue you have, how much equity you have in terms of stock. In New Jersey, the similar report is referred as annual report and it costs $75. So each state has a roundabout way to going about it. Some states will call it excise tax. Some states will call it franchise tax. So every state has a different way of looking at it.
Okay, but
Ohio-
registered agent can advise them, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Your accountant, your attorney should advise it. Ohio has something called CAT tax,
Okay.
which is only Ohio. They charge it quarterly based on the sales, not based on the profit. You could be losing money, but you still
Okay.
are paying the CAT tax.
All right. Good. Very interesting. All right. So with that note, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation on this, that how can an outside person set up a company here in the USA? Stay with us.
Did you know how many businesses were started last year? Well, guess. 5.5 million businesses were started in this country. I'm talking about all the 50 states in 1 year. If you look at the last 5 years average, it's about 4.7, 4.8 million. But in just 1 year, 5.5 new businesses were started last year.
All right. Good to know. 5.5 million, huh? That many businesses. And what would be the rate of those businesses sustaining?
Well, in total, this country has about $33.8 million business. So a lot of these businesses, I mean, if you think about average life cycle is 8 years. A lot of these businesses fails. 90% of businesses will fail in their first 3 years.
Really?
So a lot of new businesses are started, a lot of new ideas are implemented. Very few businesses succeed. Very few businesses have that long life.
As they say that for your business to succeed, you need 1,000 days, and for your business to fail, it's also 1,000 days. So 3 years is the mark for that.
Absolutely.
Whether
Absolutely.
you make it or you don't make it. Anyway, folks, you're watching the Tax Talk with Ajay right here on ITV Gold. This is a weekly show to get you all the information that you need to know regarding your personal or corporate taxes. And today we're discussing about how can a person outside USA set up a company here and do business even while living outside USA. All right, having covered most of the details in the first hour, we're going to continue with the other ones. First question, what is ITIN number, and do the person who wants to start a business in USA, do they need to have that?
Well, ITIN number stands for Individual Tax Identification Number. It's a number when you intend to file taxes in US. For the first time when you're filing taxes in US and you do not qualify for Social Security number, that's the time you need an ITIN number. For a foreign person, you're not required, it's not mandatory for you to file the US taxes. If you choose to file the US taxes and again you don't qualify for Social Security number for any sort of visa, at that time you will be asked to get the ITIN number.
Okay, all right. So that's an ITIN number. What about the bank account? Let's say a person is able to set up a company and needs a bank account. What would bank ask for it to set their company up?
Well, legally, all the banks are allowed to open your bank account for your business bank account. So there is no such rule, there is no such law that the foreign company's bank account cannot be opened over here. A lot of these banks have their own KYC requirement, knowing your customer requirement. So they can ask for the passport copies, the driver license copy. They can ask to get on a quick call. A lot of bigger banks, Bank of America, Chase, PNC, they don't have to go there. They don't have to invest time unless you are bringing in significant amount of money. So they can just refuse to open the bank account. For a lot of these foreign companies, foreign-owned companies, we typically go with second-tier bank. Banks that are FDIC insured, but they're not a trillion-dollar bank. You go with a low few billion-dollar bank, Univest, M&T. There are a lot of banks. Community banks is what we prefer for opening these bank accounts. They provide the good service, and as a foreign company, they don't mind investing time with you.
Okay, all right. So now the company is set up, the bank account is taken care. What about the taxes? Personal taxes or corporate taxes while the person is living outside USA?
Absolutely. So every company, I'm glad you asked, every company must file the taxes in this country. It doesn't matter if you have transactions or not. It doesn't matter if you have the bank account or not. You still are required to file the taxes. For a lot of corporations, you may have a minimum tax payment requirement. Say in New Jersey, if you have a company, minimum you have to pay is $500 to the state of New Jersey. Every state, they will have their own minimum. So you have to know that even if you have absolutely no transaction, you opened the company, had no transaction, did not do anything, you still have a federal and state income tax filing obligation. Depending on which type of company you have, you can choose to file a 1065 or an 1120. So in 1065, which is typically used for LLC, if you choose to go that route, in some cases, you may have to report your foreign income as well.
Okay.
So in a lot of cases, we try to avoid it. So people don't have to disclose what they don't need to disclose. So in those cases, we go with 1120. If you have a company that's filing 1120, then you are not obligated. You don't have to file the US tax return, and you don't have to pay any taxes on the foreign income, meaning will not ask you to report your foreign income and pay the taxes. So 1120 is typically the way to go. For 1120 corporate filer, the federal government has a flat income tax rate, 21% flat. And please remember, this 21% is on the profit, not on the revenue. Take a quick example. Let's say if you made $100 in your US company, you can transfer $90 to your Indian company and call it cost of goods sold. I'm sure you will do some transfer pricing study, but once you transfer $90 as cost, your net profit is only $10.
$10.
And then you pay $2.10, 21% to the federal government. Depending on which state you have registered the business, you may have anywhere from 5 to 9% state income tax. At a high level, a ballpark number is around 25 to 30% income tax. Again, it's on the net profit, not on the revenue.
Wow, you went a little too far, really quick to put this into place. Anyway, so understood a little bit, no problem. Now, to file the tax returns, of course, a person's company did some business, and when you do business, you mentioned cost of goods sold. That's one thing. But then there's a payroll and the other expenses as well. When it comes to payroll, the person who started business from abroad, can that person be an employee of his or her own company and draw a salary?
They can be if they have proper work authorization. In order to work in this country, you have to have a social security number, you have to have a legal work authorization, EAD, H1, L1, there's green card, citizenship. So just because you opened the company, you paid somebody $1,000 to open the company, does not give you the right to come here or work for a US company. That's not equivalent to
Okay, so they can work like that, but they can still set up the company.
Absolutely.
And they can run the business. Now, when they run the business, at the end of the day, there's a profit.
Right.
Profit belongs to them. Is there a limit of how much of that total profit amount that you can transfer overseas?
There is no such limit. You can transfer everything except, just a caveat, you have to have certain TDS, certain income tax deducted at source. You have to pay a certain amount of the taxes to the federal government before transferring the money. And the form you will be filing is 1042S or 1042 at the end of the year, 1042T, just to make sure before you transfer the money to India, you are paying $30, 30%, but there's no limit. You can transfer $100 or $100,000. Before you transfer the money outside this country, just take 30%, pay it to the government, do the form filing, and then you can transfer the money.
Okay, now speaking of transferring the money, it's just a curiosity. Let's say somebody made $100,000 profit and they want to transfer $90,000 to India. Person is in India and did a business here. And once they get $90,000 in their bank account in India, do they have to report that on India's tax return and pay tax on it, even though they pay tax here in USA as well?
Right, yes, they should. We don't really advise on the Indian taxes as such, but my understanding of the Indian tax law is they are supposed to include this as their taxable income in India.
Okay.
But in this example, they won't be transferring 90,000. If they want to leave 10,000, 30% is the income tax that we want to withhold at TDS, we call it. So they have to pay $27 to the federal government before they transfer the $63, the remaining amount to the Indian company or Indian owner.
Okay, and the federal tax for these kind of companies is the same as the companies here established in the US by US citizens?
Well, income tax, federal income tax rate is same, but we don't require the TDS when we have a local person. If a local person owns the corporation, owns the company, and they are drawing the money, we just issue a 1099 to them, and they are supposed to include this income along with their personal tax filing at the end of the year. We are not forcing them that you have to pay the taxes upfront. Just because you cannot chase down the foreign owner before the money is sent out to the foreign country, we require the taxes are paid upfront.
Okay, very well. Now, let's picture this scenario, see what we can find out from this question. Person comes here on H-1B visa. All right, so person is here H-1B visa doing his or her job and everything, and they get social security number. Then they move out of India. They move out of USA. They go to India, for example. And from there, they want to start a business in US while they are living in India. And they have a valid SS number. Can they use that SS number to draw a salary here in USA?
Well, no. See, this H1 when given is given for a particular job, particular purpose. So even though you have the
SS number,
the SSN, and you are outside this country, the SSN was issued to you on H1 for that particular job. Just because you started your own company, as long as the social security number is active, you can use that to start the company. But you cannot be on the payroll because the H1 was not for this company unless you get the H1 through your own company, and you can do that. If you start a company in US, you can get H1, L1 or B1, a lot of visas through your own company. But until you have that visa, you cannot be drawing a salary under your own company.
Okay, all right. So as we come to an end of the show, here's a point blank question. Looking at this, all these documents needed, and there are some restrictions and limitations, and there is, some easy way out also. My question to you is that, is it really worth for the person who is definitely going to be living outside India and continue to do business in the USA?
Well, you don't know where you can be unless you try it. If you have a good business in India, US is the consumer market. What you can get in US, you cannot get anywhere else in the world. You can sell the same jewelry that's sold for 100 rupees in India, you can get away by selling for 1995 in it, which is almost 1600, 1700 rupees. Same stuff.
Yes.
You can sell at least 10 times more. So if you do have a successful business in India, why would you not try to go to the market, the consumer market, where you can make the most money? Even though you may be happy in India, even though you're doing very well in India, but you owe it to yourself to give it a try. Unless you tried, you wouldn't know. And let's say hypothetically, if it does not work out, what did you lose? You can always close it down.
The expense is not that much. It's
Exactly.
not really
It's
that
worth the try.
expensive. Yeah,
Absolutely.
from
Absolutely.
business point of view, it's not really that expensive. All right. So, thank you so very much for shedding so much light on this topic. And before we sign off, we need a quote of the day from you.
So the appropriate quote for this type of show is, the grass is greener on the other side. I don't want you to be assuming that everything can be sold in US. You can make millions of dollars on the first day. It's a long process. Setting up a business takes a lot of time, lot of hard work, and you have to go through step by step. So when you are starting a business in US, give it enough time before you decide it's not the right thing to do.
All right, that's the right advice. And a quote from Mr. Ajay Kumar of SAI CPA Services, a full-fledged professional accounting firm can assist you from starting up a business to even maintaining a business, and they can also be virtually CFO, CEO for you, and they can also assist you in a personal corporate taxes or tax audit for that matter. That's what they are known for, and they are also known for to do taxes right for their clients. That's why SAI CPA Services is one of the most recognized and one of the most appreciated CPA firms here in the state of New Jersey, multiple locations. But no matter where you are, you can contact them at 908-380-6876 or visit SAICPAservices.com. Ajay, thank you so very much for your time. Thank you for your input and the guidance. Once again, I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and the tax-free days ahead. Until we meet again, so long.
Thank you.